Good morning, YouTube, and today we have ourselves a Gravekeeper deck profile. This is a deck I took to a recent Tulsa regional, and I have a really good time with Gravekeepers. They're pretty fun. I'll explain why I run Gravekeepers later on, and why I'm sort of weird in the way I play them. Starting off with our monsters, we have our two boss monsters, Gravekeeper's Visionary. Now, nobody ever runs him, and I understand why, because most Gravekeeper players or people nowadays like to run for the Xyz and stuff like that, and special summon. But this guy, he gains 200 attack for every Gravekeeper in the graveyard. And the way I run Gravekeepers, I have a lot of monsters. And plus, if he were to be destroyed, you discard a card from your hand, and boom, he's still there. And he gets a beef, a power up. It's pretty nice. I run one Shaman in the main deck. She's really good against most of today's meta, Burning Abyss, Shaddolls, and stuff like that, that works with a graveyard. I run 3 Commandant. He's pretty good. Searches out your Necrovalley, pretty standard. 3 Descendant. Most people will disagree with me, but I like him at 3. I've never had a problem with him being dead, and I can always get him if I need him. I run 1 Soldier and 1 Assailant. Now, these two are a little bit different in comparison to what most people run. Descendant, just for all of your opponent's face downs. Assailant, though, really helps out against players who like to play something in attack position with really high attack, and nowadays, in today's meta, most things come out with either high attack or high defense, and if you switch that, that'll save your bacon so many times. She helps me out so much. I run 3 Spy, pretty standard. 3 Recruiter, also pretty standard. And what else I run is 2 Gravekeeper's Guard. I used to have him at 3, I keep on putting him down, though. Most of the time, when you're playing Gravekeepers, when you set a monster, most people think you're setting a Spy or a Recruiter. And so they're like, I'm going to go for that and attack into it. I know exactly what it is. But if you play this guy, they may be able to attack over it, but they're going to pop one of their monsters. I run 1 Gravekeeper's Noblemen. Now, this card is a little bit different. It's a newer one, and I'm still trying to mess with her or him, whatever it is, to try and figure out how to run it. I use it to basically bring out your Shaman or your Visionary or your Spy and set up plays. But so far, it doesn't seem to work all the time because most people will remove it from play. As for the non-Gravekeeper monsters, I run 1 Malefic Stardust Dragon. This is a common thing. It protects your Necrovalley and gives you a nice beater on the field. And I do main a Neo-Spacian Grand Mole. Now, this is a very weird Tekken. I know, you might call me out on it, but it's really helped me out against just many different decks. You know, you attack a Dante and he returns back to your opponent's hand, and you keep on using him over and over, and so many people really hate this guy. Moving on to our spell cards, we have 3 Necrovalley. I mean, if you don't know what it does, it's fantastic. Mostly, I love it for its power boost and its other effect as well. 2 Stele, and 1 Royal Tribute. Now, this is a fantastic card. I really wish they'd bring it back here in TCG. I don't know why it's gone. Especially if you face against Dark Worlds, this card kills you, but it's still really exciting. I like it. 1 Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Swords Revealing Light, 1 Dark Hole, and 1 Raigeki. Now, I know this is a very strange spell lineup, but I like to draw my games out longer, and the short-term duelists like to, you know, draw, but as I'll explain later, I don't really like draw power. Moving on to our traps, I have 3 Imperial Tombs of Necrovalley. I really do like this card. Most people will say, oh, just run it at 1, oh, just run it at 2, and put a trap stun or something else in there to replace it. I like it at 3 because it'll negate just about anything, and it hasn't failed me yet, and it hasn't been dead. Now, I might be jinxing myself when I say that. Next, I have 2 Rite of Spirit. I like it so I can set up my Visionary, my Shaman, many other different plays. It's a nice little Monster Reborn or Call of the Haunted without drawback. I run 1 Magician's Circle. Now, this is a very interesting little Tekken because I use it to set up a lot of my plays, but what I love to do also is that if your opponent's running an Effect Veiler and a non-spellcaster using deck, then it forces that Effect Veiler out and you get attack straight over it. So it's a win-win situation most of the time. I run 1 Fiendish Chain. This is all I have. I'd probably bump this up to 2 or 3 if I had more. 1 Mirror Force. I like it because most people don't expect Mirror Force. I know it's a little bit old school, but it ends up working for me just about most of the time. Run 1 Torriential Tribute. and a memory of the adversary. Now this was a little fun tech-in I just threw in because I was, you know what, I want to try something fun. And so I threw this in the Grand Mole, and this, I only drew it once, and I used it, and it made my opponent so mad. He's like, what is that card? And it actually works out pretty nice. I'd probably take it out if I were to redo it, and I didn't, or test it a little bit more, but this isn't that bad of a card. Now moving on to our extra deck. I don't use most of this extra deck because I mostly go for a beatdown aspect of the entire deck. But it's just here in case you do need it, and it helps me out. I've used it a lot online, or a bit online. For my rank 3s, I have 1 Zenmaines and Ghosttrick Alucard. Moving on to rank 4s, I have Exciton Knight, Steelswarm Roach, Heartlanddraco, Downard Magician, Papa Blackship of Corn, Ragna Zero, Utopes, and Sharkdrake. And I do have one Stardust Dragon to help out your Malefic. And because I have a lot of space left over, I run a Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. I know this is a bit weird of a tech-in, but I like to do it just in case you face that one Cyber Dragon player, and it's really fun to use. I think this will really work against Cliff Forts. Those of you who have seen my Ancient Gear deck profile, I think I'm really tempted to make this a key card and going up against Cliff Forts. But out of my extra deck, the only 3 cards I did run was Gaga Cowboy, Master Key Beetle, and Silent Honor Arc. Now out of those, Master Key Beetle, I got him out like maybe twice, but when I got him out, I didn't necessarily need him. He was basically overkill by the time I got him out. But Gaga Cowboy, he saved me so many times. I would probably bump him up to 2 if I had the chance. Moving on to my extra deck. I build my extra deck typically to not to mess with my opponent, but to rechange my style, so they aren't thinking about what I'm going for next. Most people, you know, you're gonna side in Prohibition or whatever, or a Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. I like to build my extra decks so I can change my entire style. Now that being said, I do have a few stable cards. I have a second Shaman, MVP, Lava Golem. Whenever I tech this guy in, he never failed me. Like, this guy he makes so many people mad, but he still works wonderfully. If I were to rebuild this, or when I rebuild this, I'm going to definitely put in at least 1 or 2 more of these if it's available. I'm not sure, I haven't checked them on the ban list. 3 Magic Cylinders, another MVP. I know this is a bit old school, but again, nobody is expecting it. And then when it pops out, you know, you're attacking with 3,500, and you lose all that 3,500, and they become afraid of you. Deck Devastation Virus, Dimensional Fissure, Wave Motion Cannon, a little bit too slow, but I still like it. Double Passe, another really good card. I probably take out Memory of an Adversary for this later on. But if you don't know what it does, I won't read it because it'll take a long time and I'm almost out of battery. But you should read this card, and it's pretty good. 3 Tower Babbles. Now this worked a lot here in our local because we are a bit old-fashioned, like the slower play. And this really works really well against there, and I probably should have not run it. It bit me in the butt. Prohibition, which is standard. Most of the time I got MST'd before I could actually use it, though. Secret Village and Secret Sanctuary of the Spellcasters, Village Sanctuary. Now these 2 cards, I never got them off to work, and if I were to rebuild it, I'd probably put in 2 more of each of these. I don't have them, but I probably would try and find them. What you can end up doing, Secret Village, it'll shut down your opponent's spell cards if you have another one, and Secret Sanctuary will shut down your opponent's monster effects. Now if you run this with like a Royal Decree, you can completely lock down your opponent, which is a fantastic thing that I have never really seen a person using Gravekeepers try and do. Most people forget that they're spellcasters. And that'll about wrap it up for my Gravekeeper deck profile. I play Gravekeepers a little bit differently than most people. I try and play them a little bit old-fashioned. I don't like draw power. I mean, that's a whole entire different rant. I know most people will disagree with me, but that's just the way I run it. I ran them in this tournament because I thought they would be fun, and I'm really comfortable with them. I ended up doing 5-3, which wasn't too terribly bad, and I ended up, once when I got a hold of what the meta was, because I hadn't tested this really beforehand. Like, I played Stalls once, I lost against them. I played against Burning Abyss, lost the first one, won the next 3. Just about everything I could end up winning once when I figured out what it ended up doing. But again, I didn't know what it did, and so I ended up failing. But these are a little bit more fun because they're a bit old-fashioned, and it doesn't require as much thinking. Now, for those of you who aren't dedicated to Yu-Gi-Oh 100%, it's really nice to have an old-fashioned deck where you don't have to put a lot of effort into it. And think about it. That's why I just always go to Gravekeepers, because they just are very simple, standard, you know. You go, you try and knock down your opponent, and they still work decently. And I play a bit differently, too, because most people, okay, I know how Gravekeepers work, and I'm going to do this, 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 this. But then when I end up throwing a Neo-Spacian Grand Mole at them, or if I throw that guard at them, then they're like, what? Wait, you're running Gravekeepers? What? And then game 2, when I end up throwing a magic cylinder in their face, they're, what are you running? And it makes people think. And now that's what a lot of people are forgetting about in this game, is that you're trying to mess with your opponent so that you can get the upper hand. And I like to try and play the mind games because it makes it more fun. Like, once when you get to that point in time, you sit down and you have fun. There was one point in time I was playing against the Burning Abyss guy, and it came to the point where we were talking about our careers more than we were talking about the game. Now, I know that's probably not standard for tournament or whatever, but it was pretty fun. I'll explain that a different time. But if I highly suggest picking up Gravekeepers. I know this may not be the most standard build. It's 42 cards, and most people will shy away from that. You know, oh, I just like it because it's the answer to everything. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, anyone? Anyway, I know that I'm going to make changes definitely in the future. I mean, you can put the suggestions down and tear me apart in the comments, but oh well, it's the way I run it. Anyway, thank you very much, and have a great day.